Okay, in this section we will factor trinomials, and the first thing that we want to do is we're going to start off with a warm-up. So remember, this is our box method, so we're going to go ahead and multiply these using the box method. Okay, and then I'm going to do x and x, and then minus 2 and plus 5. I'm doing those in a different number or a different color. And so let's go ahead and multiply this out. So we're going to get x squared. We're going to get 2x here, 5x here, and then at the outer edge we'll get negative 10. So remember, these are like terms, so we could combine those. So we get x squared, and then we get 3x minus 10. Okay, so that's the answer there, that's multiplied. So now basically what we're going to be doing in this section is we're going to be undoing the operation. So we're going to be going from here to here. So there is a couple methods that we could do. We're always going to start off with an x here, and we're going to refer to this as the standard form is going to be ax squared plus bx plus c, where c is always the constant, b is what's in front of the x, and a is what's in front of the x squared. So in this case, it's a good idea if you like to label things. A is equal to 1, b is equal to 10, and c is equal to 16. Now these happen to be in order, but that's not always going to be the case. So with your x, you're going to multiply a times c on the top, and then you're going to add b on the bottom. So 1 times 16, that's 16, and then b, that's 10. So you want to think of two numbers that multiply to 16 and add up to 10. So two numbers that multiply out to 16 and add up to 10. So I know 4 and 4, that multiplies out to 16, but that does not add up to 10. Okay, what about 8 and 2? Yeah, that multiplies out to 16, and that adds up to 10. So we're good there. So now that those are our numbers, you're going to place it in this format. So this is your template here, and you're going to place each one of those numbers here. So plus 8, plus 2, and then that would be your answer. Okay, so now let's try to look at where we see these numbers here. So the outer edges, 8 and 2, those have to multiply out to the outer edge over here. And then these outer edges, which is the x and the x, that has to multiply to this outer edge here. And when we combine and multiply, if we were to use the box method, we would get the middle term there. Okay, so that's just where all the numbers come from. So let's do the same thing again. And let's start off with our x. And we have a is equal to 1, b is equal to negative 12, and c is equal to 35. So notice that the leading coefficient, which is a is always equal to 1 in example 1 and 2. So this is a method for when the leading coefficient is 1. Okay, so a times c is 35. And then we have 12 here at the bottom. So let's start thinking about two numbers that multiply out to 35. We have 7 and 5. They add up to 12, not negative 12. Oh, but negative 7 and negative 5 add up to negative 12, and they also multiply out to positive 35. So that works. All right, so we're going to do a template again. So x, and then in there we're going to fill in those numbers. So -7, -5, and that would be our answer. All right, so what happens when the leading coefficient is not 1? So in this case, it's going to be more like a guess and check method. So we're going to actually start off with our parentheses and what we want our answer to be. And remember I said that the outer two have to multiply out to 15. And these two have to multiply out to 2x squared. So you could think of two numbers that multiply out to 15. That's either going to be 15 and 1 or 5 and 3. So I'm going to start off with 5 here and 3 here. And then two numbers that multiply out to 2x squared. Well, I need 1x here and 1x there. And then you could do 2 up here and 1 up here. So this would be positive, positive. Now what you do, this is the guess and check method, right? So you're going to multiply the diagonals. And if I multiply the diagonals, I get 6x here. So 2x times 3 gives you 6x. And then 5 times 1x is 5x. If I were to add these together, I get 11x. Oh, that just happened to work out the first time and I got lucky. So this would be my answer. I'm just going to rewrite it so it's all horizontal. 2x plus 5, x plus 3. So again, this is a guess and check method. It's sometimes going to work, but if it's not factorable, it won't work. And it could take you a little bit longer, but this is one that's pretty easy and not too much work to remember. Okay, so let's start off again with this one. With the negatives, it might take you a little bit longer. So these need to multiply out to -4. These need to multiply out to 3x squared. So let's start off with -2 and 2. And then we'll do 3x here and then x down here. And I'm going to make that actually look a little bit nicer. -2 and +2. All right, so now let's do the diagonals. So -2 times x, that's -2x. And then over here, I got 3x times 2, so that's 6x. We're going to go ahead and add those together, and we get 4x, which is not what we want, which therefore means that we have to start all over. So I'm going to go ahead and erase the pink stuff and the pink stuff. And one thing that you could do is you could just maybe switch the signs and that will work. So maybe negative down here and positive up there. And so then you're going to get, if we multiply, you get -6x, 2x, that's -4x. So notice that we got the opposite, right? So -4x, so that did not work. So we're going to go ahead and erase these. So 2 and 2 did not work. So we're going to have to try another thing that multiplies out to -4, which would be 4 and 1. Okay, so let's try 4 here and then 1 here. And let's try the negative here and the positive here. So let's go ahead and multiply the diagonals. And we get -3x and then 4x. If we subtract those together, we get x. So notice what we're trying to get is -x, right? But we got x. So that means we just need to switch the signs. So that's an easy. This would be a negative and this would be a positive, and therefore this would be a positive, this would be a negative, and we'll change this to a negative sign. So that worked. So in this case, this one took a lot more guessing and check but we still got an answer. And we did all the multiplications for 4 because there was only 4 times 1 and 2 times 2. And then notice for 3, it was just 3 times 1. So there wasn't anything that I needed to fix on this left side. All right, so our last example, and we're going to go ahead and try the guess and check method. So we need two numbers that multiply out to 9y squared, two numbers that multiply out to 6x squared. So two numbers that multiply out to 16 are 8 and 2. And two numbers that multiply out to 9y squared are plus 3y plus 3y. Notice I'm not even going to try any negatives because there are no negatives in the function. So next thing is we're going to multiply the diagonals. So we get 6xy over here plus 24xy. So that is not what we want because we want 24xy. So we're going to go ahead and delete this. And in this case, because there are two numbers that multiply out to 9, it's going to be 9 and 1, 3 and 3, and then there are 4 and 1 and 16 and 1, 8 and 2, and 4 and 4. So let's go ahead and try 4 and 4. Because the number, with the numbers 8 and 2 and 3 and 3, that was too high because I got a number higher than 24, so I'm going to try getting smaller numbers now. So now let's go ahead and multiply the diagonals. And so that gives me 12xy plus 12xy, 24xy. So that is our answer, and again, I'm just going to write it vertically just to make it look nicer. As actually, it's the same number. It's the same thing in the parentheses, right? So I could just say 4x plus 3y squared. All right, and that would be our answer.